Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of Nighttime. Today we will be covering that dude Gabe Davis who went off in the divisional round along with UCF men's basketball and UCF women's basketball. Also, we will be discussing our primetime picks from last week. Spoiler alert, I did bad. Get seated because Nighttime starts now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Hello everyone, welcome back to this brand new episode of Nighttime. My name is Taylor Anderson, joined by my best co-host Camden Mowery. Camden, how are you doing today?
I'm doing lovely. I'm doing great. How are you doing today, Taylor?
I'm so excited we get to talk football on the show today, and we're going to go over so much basketball. We are also joined by our special guest host, Noah Kemper. Noah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. Really excited to get this episode going. So I want to start off with, even though we don't talk much professional sports on this show, this is absolutely an exception after the game that Gabe Davis had Sunday night against the Chiefs. Even though the Bills did not walk away with the win, Gabe Davis, former UCF Knight and now Buffalo Bills wide receiver, made NFL history. He became the first player ever to catch 4 touchdowns in a playoff game in the NFL. He also finished off the game totaling 8 catches for 201 yards receiving. He absolutely went off. I think just watching the game, if you were a Chiefs fan, a Bills fan, just a Knights fan watching, everyone was captivated by the way this man was getting around the defenders and catching the ball in the end zone, first down whenever you needed him to. Camden, how was Davis for this game for you?
Well, coming as an unbiased fan for this game, both of my teams in the NFL are already out, so I had no stake in the game. This was a game that I didn't want anybody to lose. I just hoped that it would keep going forever and ever. But then overtime came, and those stupid overtime rules happened to come up.
They need to change.
They need to change. But Gabe Davis was absolutely amazing. I don't know if he was lined up in the end zone because every time he caught the ball, his back was facing the crowd. Like, it was facing the goalpost. He seemed wide open on all the touchdowns. Just nobody guarding him. He was putting the moves on while he was running his routes. He played amazing, and it's so sad that he lost, but good for UCF. Noah, what about you?
I mean, this is just one of the greatest performances I've seen by a wide receiver, and I'm surprised we didn't have the stretcher come out for any of the defenders after he broke their ankles on every route he ran, including a 75-yard long ball. This man was unstoppable. Like you said, 4 touchdowns, and just always, he was like a magnet to the end zone, always find his way there.
He was a really great player. He's had an amazing 2 seasons in the NFL so far. He's just taking off. We can't wait to see what he'll do next season, even though the Bills are out of the playoffs. But that's enough football talk for now. Got it out of the way. My heart's happy. But now it's time to jump into some college basketball, and we're going to start with the UCF men's basketball team. In their game against Tulane, the men's basketball team walked away with a 66-68 win. I guess they really like to make comebacks this season because just like their game against ECU, they found themselves down again. They overcame a 13-point second-half deficit and were able to hold off Tulane at home. What really turned the game around was when UCF had a 14-point run. Tulane missed 5 straight shots, and DeYoung's dunk helped the Knights get back on top. The game was tied 6 times and had 8 lead changes. Camden, we've been talking back and forth how this team is pretty inconsistent, but they walked away with a win at this game. What are your takeaways?
Well, yeah, inconsistent is right. As you could see, they barely squeaked one out at home. They got that home crowd into it, though, when Darren Green Jr. hit those 3 threes in a row. I mean, he went off for 14 points, and I think we're going to talk about him later. But, yeah, it was just great to see. He had some clutch shots when they needed that 14 run, and he just played great. Noah, what do you think?
I mean, the crowd was electric. When down 13, 5 minutes left, it looks like UCF was just about to lose at home to Tulane, and all of a sudden, their offense started clicking with threes by Darren Green, put back shots by Mbak Zong, and it was it was really electric how their offense just all of a sudden started clicking. The defense was finally able to get stops, and with the 68-66 win, it doesn't matter how you get the win, no matter how ugly it might look, they got it done.
Very true. They were able to get it done. I wish they would stop trying to go down so much and come back. We'll talk about how that didn't work in their favor in just a second. But last season, we did have offensive and defensive players of the game for our football games. So we're going to bring that back and do player of the games. So my player of the game has to go to freshman guard Darius Johnson. This was only his second collegiate start and his first since November. He had a season high of 17 points to go along with 7 rebounds. Johnson was also named AAC's freshman player of the week. So especially when a team you don't really know what's going to happen with the UCF men's basketball team. If you have freshmen that are stepping up and putting up the points that you need to and help with a win, I think they deserve to be recognized, and I hope that he's able to do so for the rest of the season. Camden?
Well, as I talked about earlier, I went with Darren Green Jr. That dude's going to be like my Ryan O'Keefe from last season or last semester, because I was always choosing him for my player of the week. But Darren Green Jr. had some clutch shots, like I said. They went on that, I believe it was a 14-0 run. I think it was a little bit bigger than that, even like 17-3. But when they needed some clutch shots, Darren Green Jr. was the man, hitting back-to-back threes. And I believe he hit a couple shots earlier in the game, but he ended up with 14 total points. Now, I know some other players might have played a little bit better than him, but Darren Green Jr. provided that spark when they needed him to. Noah, who's your player of the game?
My player of the game was UCF center Mbake Zong. That man, while down 13, he really stepped up and really took a leadership role with some key putback layups, with a key alley-oop slam, which really got the momentum running, really got the crowd into it. And with a block also on defense, he was really running the floor on offense and defense, able to cut the deficit down from 13. And it was a really impressive look for him for his first year here.
True that.
Yep, so we talked about some impressive players, so let's talk about how UCF did not step up to the plate on Wednesday night. So even though they were able to walk away with a win against Tulane, they were not successful at all Wednesday night against Wichita State, losing 84-79. They keep making habits of falling early and trying to come back, but obviously, as we see, that doesn't work out every time. They were able to make it back from a 16-point deficit and make it a 3-point game, but they couldn't ever take the lead or make a tie. They were able to hold AAC Conference Player of the Year Tyler Etienne to just 5 points, but Wichita State just kept dominating defensively. Camden?
Well, this game on Wednesday night, it ended up becoming kind of disappointing because UCF was down for basically the entire game, and then they just never really felt like they could pull closer. Wichita State got them. They're not really that good of a team anymore, so it's kind of a disappointing loss. Noah, what do you think?
I completely agree. Like we've seen over and over again, down 44-28 against ECU at halftime, down 13 with 5 minutes left against Tulane. It started really early in the game, down 18-5 early against Wichita State, and we can't see this time and time again. They can't expect just to dig their way out of a deficit every single game. They need to learn how to start shooting well early in the game and stay there, because every time they try to come back, it doesn't always work out like we saw against Wichita.
All right, well, we have seen it all with this UCF basketball team so far this season. Hopefully, we'll get to it in a little bit. They're able to come out on top against Houston, but Camden and I don't really have a great feeling about it. But stay tuned. We are going to talk about how I am winning primetime picks so far this season when we come back, so stay tuned.
I'm going with Cowboys versus Giants. Why? Because I am a New York Giants fan, and I want my first pick of the week to be my team. I see an upset for the New York Giants this Sunday. Bet your entire savings, and I'm telling you right now, they're gonna win. I don't care what you say. It's gonna happen.
I have to go with the Raiders, I think, for this one. I don't see them losing.
Welcome back. It is now time for our primetime picks of the week, the best segment. I'm currently doing awful, standing at 16-10, Oklahoma State and Texas. I'm going Texas 35-27.
All right, Jeff, don't tell me your winner, but who is going to the Super Bowl? the New England Patriots
Oh my gosh. Oh my
God.
and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
God.
The
Oh
NFL is the NFL is gonna make it happen.
All right, guys, welcome back. So we're going to go right into the women's basketball team. The women's basketball team fell to their first AAC contest this season, losing 61-57 against Cincinnati. They fell behind early after the Bearcats jumped to an 11-2 lead. They had a 7-0 run, but still found themselves trailing Cincinnati. About halfway through the third quarter, UCF had its first lead of the game and was back and forth for the remainder of the period. With 11 seconds left, Cincinnati sealed the deal with a three-point shot, and the Knights weren't able to come back. This was a really big loss for the Knights after we've seen them play very well all season long, but the deficit between these losses, points have been really slim, and they've been fighting. Camden, what did you think about this game?
Well, yeah, like you said, these losses between these three teams that they've lost to have all been super close within, I believe, all 8 points of all three of their losses, and it's just unfortunate that you drop a game to Cincinnati, an in-conference opponent. I mean, it's not like they played bad. They came back. It's a loss at the wrong time. Hopefully they can get back on track, and they did get back on track last night. But first, we will talk about Cincinnati. Noah, what'd you think about these girls?
I mean, these ladies really fought hard. The game went back and forth the entire way. I think with 2 minutes left, they finally had a 1-point lead and just weren't able to close it out. But like Taylor said, since he was able to hit a clutch three late in the game, and it just kind of sealed it. But all their games have been really close, and they know how to fight until the very end.
Yeah, these ladies are very good at basketball, and we need to recognize them as well. So for our player of the game, mine specifically, she really is the star of every game, but my player of this game specifically has to go to Diamond Battles. She was able to tie up the game in the second quarter by scoring 5 points in less than 20 seconds. She also led in scoring with 21 points and hit a career-high 5 three-pointers with 3 assists and a pair of steals. Camden, who's yours?
Well, Diamond Battles did play great, and the unfortunate thing is only one other player really played good enough to get the win, and that was Alicia Lewis, who scored 16 points. She played great as well. She shot well from the field, and other than these two, they did not have a lot of production. Most of their points came from these two girls, and really, if they want to make a good run in the tournament, they need to make sure that they have some bench depth and that they're getting more points from other players. But my player is Alicia Lewis. She played good.
Noah?
I completely agree. They do need more players to step up, and my player of the game was also Alicia Lewis, who was very efficient from the field, shooting 6 for 9, making the most, 16 points, really making the most out of every opportunity given, and she was able to help the Knights really stay close in this game the whole way.
Okay, so even though they took a loss to Cincinnati, the women's basketball team were able to pick up a 67-69 win against Tulane Wednesday night. Kaba, Sanders, and Battles were able to combine for 57 points of their 69. Sanders and Battles combined to go 50% from the field, and of course, Battles led in scoring with 21 points. They did find themselves down by 13 minutes in the first 10, but they were able to go on stretches to cut down Tulane's lead. And in the fourth quarter, Tulane had a pair of free throws to let them regain the lead, but Alicia Lewis, three-pointer from the back for good, sealed the deal for UCF. Camden, what did you think about this game?
Now, that was a good win there for UCF. That game was at home. I wish I was there, but that sounded like the crowd would have been electric at those games. Now, this is a good win against, it was Tulane or USF? I forget which team. Tulane? Gotcha. Yes, sorry, one of those green teams up in there. But good game from the UCF women. I'm glad they got a win after dropping that game to Cincinnati. Noah, what about you?
I don't know what it is about UCF, but whenever they play Tulane, they like to give their fans a heart attack because every game will be close. Winning by 2, almost the same exact score as the men's team. But as long as they get the job done, close it out, cut the deficit down to take the lead, it's all good as long as they get the win. And this ladies' team was able to show that they fought until the very end to get that 2-point win.
They were able to get the job done, but you know who wasn't? Camden in primetime picks
here
last
we
week.
go.
You know who was? Me. And I'm just going to live in the glory for a second because this doesn't happen to me, but we're going to talk about some of the games. So Michigan State moved up to the top of the Big Ten after defeating the Wisconsin Badgers on the road 86-74 with junior forward Tyler Wall out with an ankle injury. The Badgers struggled to keep up with the Spartans. They shot 57% from the floor and even took a 42-26 lead in the first half. Wisconsin did come back within a 58-52 score, but the Spartans just continued to go on a 7-point after Izzo's timeout run. By knocking off Wisconsin, they really have shown their legitimacy as a Big Ten contender. Camden?
Well, I texted my uncle after the game. I said, I'm never betting with my family again. I'm never doing it because I gave them so much love. I was like, I'm going with Wisconsin, top 10 team, and they just disappointed. I mean, they were down by, 16 at the half, and it was just like, come on. The only two guys that even did something for Wisconsin was Johnny Davis and Brad Davidson, who combined for, let's do some quick math, 47 points.
Wow.
Yes, right off the top of the head. But they just couldn't get the job done. Dang it, Wisconsin. I was rooting for you, but they couldn't get it done. Noah, what about you?
I agree. This game I thought was going to come down to the last second, but it was honestly a disappointment. I thought Wisconsin was going to win this game too. Well, down 16 in the first half, it's hard to come back with that. Their offense, no bench depth was really shown in this game. No other player was stepping up. You know, they tried to cut the lead down, but it was not happening, and it was simply just not Wisconsin's night.
No, it was not.
All right, our next game, really quick. Auburn made their case to be the nation's top team after beating Kentucky 80-7-1 in their matchup. Students camped outside of the arena to get tickets 24 hours beforehand, and the teams definitely made the game worth attending. Auburn was able to rally back from a 10-point deficit to win their 15th straight game and most likely their biggest home game since the arena opened. Kentucky's number 2 scorer, Ty Washington, did only play 8 minutes and left with an ankle injury, which made it hard for Kentucky to stay consistent, but Auburn's shooting was on fire. Johnson, Kessler, and Smith came up big for shooting and put up great numbers for the Tigers. Kentucky came in leading the nation in rebounds, but was out-rebounded 27-26 by Auburn. Camden, what was this game like for you?
Well, I started out 0-2, so the game was not good for me. I'll start with that. You know, Kentucky, I thought they would go on that run right now that they do. You know, Kentucky basketball, blueprint basketball school, and they just couldn't get the job done. So Auburn cemented why they're the number 1 team in the nation. Awfully unfortunate for me. I promise this week I will do better. Noah, what do you like about this Kentucky-Auburn game?
I honestly thought that Kentucky was going to win this game too. The blue blood schools, you know, always seem to rise this time, but Auburn, down 10, was able to roar it back, and I think one huge part of that was the 20 fouls that Kentucky committed, giving Auburn 24 of 29 from the free throw line, while Kentucky only had 10 free throws in total, and that honestly was the main difference in this 9-point game.
You cannot play messy basketball, and we have seen that this season. This game I really want to touch on because there's a little dig, but I'm so happy I didn't listen to my friend Johan Blanco last week when it came to picking this game because Kansas came out on top over Texas Tech 94-91 in a double OT win. In the final minute and 30 seconds, Kansas came back from 5 points down to tie the game at 86. Honestly, for most of the game, Kansas did not look like the team that would be able to make a comeback. In the second overtime, Kansas was able to take a 1-point lead on a free throw from Jalen Wilson, which then led to 3 points on 2 more by Christian Braun with 10 seconds left. Abaji set a new career high with 37 points and 7 3-pointers. They really did need him since Williams for the Raiders scored 33 points, and the teams are now in a season split and will face off against SEC teams next week. Camden?
Now, this game was really good to watch. I remember Kansas was down. The weird thing is Kansas was actually up by 10 or 12 with a couple minutes to go, and I thought this game is in the bag. And then Texas Tech came out of nowhere. Like you said, Williams had those 33 points. But how about Abaji with the 37 points, his career high? He was sensational in overtime and double overtime as he helped the Jayhawks pull off that big, much-needed victory. Noah, what'd you think about that Kansas team?
Well, as a Kansas Jayhawks fan, this game almost gave me 2 heart attacks. But unfortunately, they were able to come through 94-91, and my man, Ochai, was able to hit a game-tying 3, sending this game into more playing time, and I was on my seat the entire game, as I'm sure every Kansas fan in that arena was, but they were able to get the win 94-91, and I know Kansas fans say this every year, but this is our year to win the championship, and it will happen. We have now cemented a clear #1 spot right now in the Big 12, and we plan on sticking there.
Noah,
All right, we'll see if that comes back for Bad Takes commercial. But that's all the time that we have for right now. Noah, thank you for joining us, and we will be right back with some more primetime picks.
It's coming back. Go away.
Welcome to the HTF Hot Wings Challenge. What of you guys actually do hot sauce like regularly?
No.
No.
It's like the least black thing I do.
Oh, wow, okay.
I say Johnny goes first on this one.
I agree.
The Buccaneers are going to play the Washington football team.
That can't happen.
It will happen.
I'm terrified.
No, I really hate it.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. No. You're wrong. If it wasn't for Kanye jumping up on stage and doing that, I'm gonna let you finish, but no one would know what this was.
Nitro's a dump truck. And if you don't know what I'm talking about,
Why is Nitro thick?
I don't know how many squats I need to do to get up like something like that, but I will do it.
Oh! Oh my God!
Baseball, obvious reasons. Babe Ruth, if you want to go currently. I feel like that's just like a thing.
he jumped off the wall to catch the home run. We made it through all the way to the end. Thank you for joining us.
I'm never doing this again.
It was rough.
all right, welcome back everyone to segment 3 of Nighttime, where we will be going over our primetime picks. Taylor, go ahead and talk about how we're
All right,
standing.
so I'm going to take Purdue over Ohio State. Ohio State has already managed to pull off a lot of upsets this year, so I don't think they can get another one, and enough upsets have happened against Purdue that they won't let another one happen. Camden, I know you want to say Ohio State, but it's not happening. Who do you think is
it's going to
win this
happen.
game?
Oh, you listen, it is going to happen. Ohio State, do you remember how they played last year? Because I do. They were really good up until finally they got to that championship or that tournament. They lost to Oral Roberts, but Ohio State will win this game. They will go into Purdue and show why they are a top 10 team. They still have E.J. Liddell. They still have Kyle Young, the guy that is the energizer for this team. They are going to win this game.
Okay, that's another thing that we can add to Bad Takes for next season. If anyone's
Bet your life
looking.
savings on it.
Don't do that, because every time Johan says that, it doesn't work. So I'm glad that you said it, because it's just, whatever. So we're going to move on to the next game. Kansas and Iowa State. I feel like this one is hard because Kansas has been consistent, the better team, but you don't really know when Iowa State will have one of those nights where their defense completely takes over. I'm going to go with Iowa State because last time they played in Kansas, the Cyclones essentially played in a span of 10 days. 3 really tough Big 12 games. Their game before will be Mizzou, which won't be much of a challenge, so they'll be prepared for Kansas. But I do have to say, if I get this one wrong, it's Mr. Basketball Tyler Karen's fault.
Are you serious? You're going to give me a free game here with Kansas?
Go ahead.
Now, I know Kansas has to play Kentucky before they play this game, which is going to be tough. And Iowa State is on the rise, but you are crazy if you're not going with Kansas in this game. I got Kansas, of course, to win this game against Iowa State. I'm so happy you just did that. That's awesome.
Okay, realistically, I lose this game. You lose Ohio State and Purdue. You're still down 1.
Well, I'm going to
still
win
winning.
Ohio State and Purdue, and I'm going to be up by 1.
Okay, so for this next game, I'm going to take UCLA over Arizona in a really close one, but I really think it's going to be a toss-up. I don't know, what your thoughts are, but I still think that this is just going to be a game for me to win. I think that I had an awful season last season, and this is going to be good for you.
No, don't even worry about it. I will be the new Taylor this year in primetime picks. I'm pretty sure that I just made 2 bad picks. I don't even know. Hopefully Kansas comes out and wins this game against Iowa State, and I think Ohio State will beat Purdue. Kansas will beat Iowa State. What is the next game that we're talking about, Taylor?
Okay, it's going to come down to Houston and UCF. I'm trying not to look like Boo Boo the Fool this season, but if I do this game, then that's fine because I want to take UCF over Houston, but it's just not going to happen. So Houston is going to beat UCF. They're ranked number 7, and they just lost to Wichita State. If they get down to Houston like they've been doing this whole entire season, it's not going to work in their favor, and they are going to get embarrassed at home. Might as well take that block party and just get rid of it because you're kind of just having a party to get ready to lose, in my opinion.
Wow.
But That's just me.
Now, I'm going with Houston. I will be in attendance at that game, but I'm sorry, UCF fans. I'm sorry. I don't think it's going to happen. If it does happen, I will be happy just like the rest of UCF fans, but it is not going to happen against the number 7 ranked Houston. I can tell you the game that we were missing. It was Villanova and Marquette. And for that game, I'm going to go with Villanova. They're the favorite team, and Villanova is on the rise. Villanova will win this game.
I'm also going to go with Villanova because Marquette was able to defeat them this season. If there's anything we've really seen, it's so hard to beat a good team twice this season. So for that, I'm going with Villanova. But that's all the time that we have right now. I want to thank Noah for coming on the show and giving his opinions. Camden, as always, it's great to have you as my guest, as my host, the best host, to have on and talk with you every single week. We look forward to doing some more primetime picks next week and also maybe have some NFL playoff updates on who is going to the Super Bowl. Stay tuned for next week, and thank you for joining.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight,